Let's spend a couple minutes now talking about Washington, D.C. because a federal government shutdown is looming. If Congress can't agree on a new spending plan, the government will shut down this weekend for the first time in about 4 years. So if things do shut down, what would close and what would stay open? Casey Decker takes a closer look at the impact in tonight's Verify.
The federal government is about to shut down. If Congress doesn't come to an agreement by the end of the week and pass the yearly spending bills, federal agencies will be left without a budget. So what will close and what will stay open? Let's verify using these sources. First, we can verify the post office will stay open. It isn't funded by spending bills. It's self-funded through the stuff it sells. DMVs will also remain open because they're run by the states, not the federal government. Airports will remain open, but there could be significant delays due to staff shortages. That's because federal workers don't get paid during a shutdown. And even though TSA and air traffic controllers are still technically required to come to work, we know from the last shutdown in 2019 that many don't. Similarly, passport applications will still be processed, but may take longer than normal. And what about the IRS? Some people who got an extension on their taxes this year have a deadline on October 16th, but will the IRS be open to process those returns? It's unclear. The IRS may have some access to emergency funds, but we don't know yet how much. So it's possible the agency at least partially closes until a deal is reached. You may remember from previous government shutdowns that some national parks and monuments closed, but this doesn't always mean they're not accessible to visitors. Some parks may lock their gates. Others might simply not have operational services like bathrooms or visitor centers. And finally, if you're planning a trip to the nation's capital anytime soon, don't plan to go to any Smithsonian Museum or the National Zoo. They'll all be closed during a shutdown. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Okay, so a lot of people understandably worried about how their jobs or benefits could be impacted if this all does happen. It's a very valid concern, as paychecks could be delayed for millions of federal workers. You might remember during the government shutdown in 2013, 850,000 federal employees were furloughed. On top of that, some food assistance programs that feed tens of millions of people, that could run out if we do reach a shutdown this week. So let's break down what could happen if this happens. First up, let's talk about jobs. So about 60% of federal workers are employed with the Department of Defense, Veterans Affairs, and Homeland Security. Furloughed and essential employees who have to continue working during the shutdown are not paid. However, they will get back pay eventually. That's because of a federal law signed in 2019 requiring that those employees get paid once the shutdown is done. Military service members would continue working, but they too would not be paid and would receive back pay later. You know who is paid during the shutdown? The president and Congress. That's because the U.S. Constitution requires the president to get a paycheck at all times. Members of Congress also get paid thanks to federal law and the Constitution. Now, if you're worried about benefits, this is important. A government shutdown would not stop or delay Social Security payments. You would still get those, and disability and pension benefits going to military veterans also not impacted. But this is a big impact next for the millions of families who rely on food stamps. SNAP and WIC, two of the major food stamp programs in the U.S., could run out during a shutdown. The federal government is responsible for funding them, which collectively help more than 40 million people in need to buy food. For WIC, now this varies state by state how long the program could last, how much money it has to keep going. For some states, it could be a couple days. Others, it could be as long as a month. SNAP, on the other hand, will continue through at least the end of October.